Well, again, good evening and welcome Abuna Dominique Hanna. He is the rector of our cathedral, as I said earlier, in Brooklyn. And Abuna is also a judge on our tribunal. He's a canonist. Take it away, Abuna. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you, sister. Thank you for for asking me to prepare. This is not my, my areas of my area of expertise. So I had to do some research, and I started a little bit while I was in Lebanon. It was very appropriate that I was there during the beatification of Isfahan Patriarch Isfahan Dwehi, as he is was being declared a blessed. So Sister Therese, when she asked me, she said something about the Maronite patriarch. So I didn't know, how should I approach it. Then I decided, well, I'm going to focus on three patriarchs. Definitely Saint John Maron a little bit, as much as we know about Saint John Maron, and then Patriarch Blessed Sven Dweihe, and then Patriarch Venerable Elias Lahwayek. So it's going to be about these three patriarchs, and from that we get an idea of the different patriarchs. You know what? As I was preparing, also I would encourage probably the series that will come after next year or whatever, just to continue focusing on these patriarchs. And probably put some sort of a document, a big document together, where we will have instead of only like a little bit one or two paragraphs. Most of the people will have one or two paragraphs that they've written about these patriarchs. The challenge that I face is most of the writings are in Arabic still. Like for Patriarch Dweihe, a lot of have been written in Arabic, not much in English. The same thing for Patriarch Elias Lahwayek, very much very little in English, a lot in Arabic. So let's go, sister, to the next slide, please. So to start, I decided to just go in our canon law, the Eastern Code, and just define a little bit what the code has said about the patriarchs and the patriarchates. It's the patriarch it's an institution that existed in the church from a long, long time, and patriarchs have such a big honor and important honor in the Eastern churches, and each of them, as it says in Canon 55, presides over his patriarchal church as father and head. Very important to have that idea of father and head. We don't see that in other churches. We don't want to keep doing a comparison, but this is not something that we see in different churches. There is that idea of a father, somebody who is next to his people, and you're going to see that with the patriarchs that we are going to talk about. Canon 56, a patriarch is a bishop who enjoys power over all bishops, including metropolitans. So he has power over all bishops, and as you know, they operate as a synod. Yes, the patriarch is kind of a little bit first among equal, but they operate as a synod in terms of decision making. There is a permanent synod, a smaller group that decide. So the power does not only reside like in the Latin Church with the Pope more. It's really with the mostly with the synod when it comes to electing and naming other bishops, when it comes to big decisions that the church would do. Next slide, sister. So, as I said, we're going to talk about the Patriarch Saint John Maron, who was a patriarch around 700. Patriarch Blessed Sven Dweihe was born in 1630 and died in 1704. And Patriarch Venerable Elias Peter Lahwayek, 1843, 1831. And you could see this is, on your left, this is the logo of the patriarchate. And you could see Ikorod in Syriac, Ikorod Lebanon Netiheb. Majdu Lubnana Netiheb Le, sorry. Majdu Lubnana Atiya Lahu. The glory of Lebanon was given to him. And you could see it in Syriac, and you could also see it in Latin. As well. So let us move to next slide, sister. So, as Patriarch Rai said in his homily at when they did a Thanksgiving liturgy for Patriarch Douaihi, he said it's very hard to find a patriarch like Patriarch Douaihi. There was nothing like him before. There is nothing that will come like him as a patriarch after. He kind of made that huge, big, declaration that none of the patriarchs are like or is like Patriarch Douaihi. So a lot of history, and you will see later as I presenting Bishop Douaihi, Patriarch Douaihi will refer to him. So when we talk about Saint John Maron, so according to Patriarch Douaihi, we're going to start with him because he has written in one of his historical books on Saint John Maron, and he had a list of all the patriarchs up to him. And this was very important at that time to put a list of the patriarchs, starting with Saint John Maron. So he studied, as far as we know, according to Douaihi, he studied in Antioch and then went and he had become a monk with the monastery of Saint Maron. That's why you have the name Maron associated with his name, because he belonged to that monastery. Then he went to Constantinople and learned Greek and some sciences there. Still, according to Douaihi, Saint John Maron defended was a staunch defender of the Council of Chalcedon 451 and the Council of Constantinople 680. And in these two councils, as we know, they defended the two nature of Christ, human and divine, in the Council of Chalcedon, and the two wills of Christ, human and divine, in the Council of Constantinople. And because of that, he was kind of supported by a little bit Rome, still according to Douaihi. So if you go, and probably other historians will not mention that, because there was no primary sources that would record something like that. But according to Douaihi, probably from tradition, probably something that he's heard, probably something that he read, that we don't have a primary source or manuscript on that. He would say that he was supported by the Roman officials, the Latin Church, and he was appointed at one point the Bishop of Betroun, because they needed someone in that region to help with the people who were Monophysite, to just bring them back or talk to them or try to convince them to believe in the two natures of Christ instead of one nature in Christ, to preserve the unity of the Holy See and with the Church of Antioch. So, as I said, in Mount Lebanon, he preached against the Monophysite and later against, the typos, Monothelites, which is the one will of Christ. Monophysite, one nature of Christ, Monothelites, one will of Christ, and more people followed him. Next slide, sister. So how did he become a patriarch? The Muslim conquest of the 7th century had a profound impact on the Church of Antioch. If you see these two pictures, you could see the red is the red picture, the red spot there is where Muhammad was, and he had that territory. Then after he died, they went and they conquered the different areas around that region, and definitely they get into Antioch. So you could see in these two pictures how the Muslims really conquered Antioch, and definitely they ended up in Constantinople with the fourth caliphs from 622 to 861, and then the territory really expanded at the Umayyad caliphates until 750. Very important to keep that in mind, because this is going to affect the Antiochian Patriarchate and that region heavily. Next slide, sister. So with the Islamic conquest, Maronites emigrated to Lebanon from the Syria, what we call Syria Secunda, from Apamia, from the different region on the border of Lebanon, modern day Syria. especially of the Muslim conquest, but also they were persecuted by, like, for example, the Jacobites, the Monophysites, the Monothelites, who attacked those who followed the councils. So they went into Lebanon. The patriarchs of Antioch at the Muslim conquest were also under siege. And after the death of that patriarch, Anastasius, around 609, I think this date is wrong. I think a little later, there was the patriarchs of Antioch did not reside any longer in Antioch. So they were residing in Constantinople, and they were governing Antioch from Constantinople. So they had jurisdiction kind of over Antioch, but physically they were not there. So the see was vacant. We know, again, these dates, we're talking, 7th century, 8 centuries. So these dates are not accurate, but this is what they have. We have, according again to Patriarch Dwayhi, the see was vacant, and no one was named as a successor. For one reason or another, there was no successor that was named. So it was during that time that John Maron, the Maronite bishop of Betroum, became the patriarch of Antioch and established himself as the first patriarchate in Farhai, Lebanon, in the Betroum area. We know from a historian, Dennis of Talmahri, that the Maronites, I think he wrote later, probably in late 700s, that the Maronites remained as they are today. They ordain a patriarch. This is pretty much the only source that they have. We have that, the Maronites had a patriarch probably by the end of the 700s, and bishops from their monastery. We know also, according to Dwayhi, that Saint John Maron died in 707 after he was persecuted by an emperor of Byzantium. Again, some of these emperors did not follow the decisions of the councils, and when they realized that you have a group that is defending the council, they will be attacked and they will be killed. Saint John Maron was kind of the first founder of the Maronite Church as a patriarchate. The second founder, I think, was Patriarch Blessed Stephen Dwayhi. So we don't have a lot about Saint John Maron. If you read, you will read 2 or 3 paragraphs. Some of it is really sometimes very poetic in nature. It's very difficult to find, a picture of Saint John Maron and a little icon. These are modern icons that we have. So we don't have a lot. The Maronites were challenged big time if Saint John Maron existed or not. As Monsignor Bejani would say, there was someone who started it. Well, we named him Saint John Maron, and this is how it is. So yes, we were challenged if he existed, he didn't exist, and what kind of territory or power, or how was he named, and what kind of confirmation he got for him to be a patriarch. But all of that are important. We don't have any, in my opinion, I haven't found during my little research that I did the past month, anything that is written on concretely and solid on did he exist, he didn't exist, or he did not exist. For sure, for us, he existed, and the church is actually started as a patriarchate because of Saint John Maron. It takes a lot of courage, actually, to do something like that. He was bold, and he was a leader of the church, and also leader of the people. So first founder of the Maronite Church, Saint John Maron. Second founder was Patriarch Blessed Stephen Dwayhi, and that's why I think there is a good, you could see a nice similarity between Saint John Maron and Bishop Stephen Dwayhi. Next slide, sister, please. So now we're moving in history from 700, 800s to 1630, when Patriarch Blessed Stephen Dwayhi was born. And now we have more material, we have more resources. At that time, we're talking at least 900 years or 1,000 years after Saint John Marin. So Stephen Dwayhe was born in Ehden, December 2nd, 1930. It's the feast of Pope Saint Stephen the First, who was the Pope between 254 and 270 and 257. Now there is an important historical, as we saw the historical factors playing an important role with the Islamic conquest within the church. Here also, we have another historical fact is the presence of Prince Fakhruddin Al-Ma'ni al-Kabir, who governed between 1572 to 1635. At one point, if you could see in that map, Fakhruddin extended in his climax of governance, he extended his territory all the way. He's getting close to Antioch. If you see, that's the green spot, to Laodicea, all the way. It was a big territory at one point. He was a Druze prince who, at the time, this is the time of the Ottoman Empire, who governed from 1516 till the end of the First War, 400 years. The Ottoman governed that entire region of the Middle East, 400 years, not 10, 1500, 400. 1516, very important date, to 1918, the end of the First War. But that region of Mount Lebanon always had enjoyed some sort of self-autonomy, some sort of independence somehow. And because of princes and governors like Fakhruddin al-Kabir, he was able to pay the taxes and govern the people very nicely. It was said that at the end of his life, he converted to Christianity and heavily believed in the conviviality, living together between the Maronites and the Druze in peace and harmony. This is 3 years or 5 years after Istvan was born. When he was 5 years old, Fakhruddin kind of was executed. He was taken into exile and he died. So after that period, the entire region was in turmoil. There was no strong leaders. The Ottoman were exercising more power. They were, inflicting suffering. Sister, next slide. They were inflicting really, they were burdening the people. So this is in that kind of atmosphere, Istvan Dwayhe kind of grew up, and he was moving at one point. You will see later on from Ehden to the Kisrwen area, because the Kisrwen area enjoyed a little bit of freedom than the northern part at that time. His father was Mkhail, and he was a subdeacon. He was a shidye, which was more of not a title of ordination. It was more of a civil ordination, a civil recognition by someone who had served the people probably, or someone who was well-to-do. And his mother Maryam, also both of them were from the Dwayhe family. So he was Dwayhe all along. Members of the Dwayhe family were lords who owned land and were well-to-do in the region of northern Lebanon, in the Ehden region. There were 3 patriarchs and 17 bishops and a huge big number of priests, monks, and nuns who were from the Dwayhe family. His father died when Stephen was only 3 years old. It's very sad, and the town where he grew up, the first 11 years of his life were in Ehden, a town that is close to the cedars of Lebanon, to Wadi Qadisha, and to so many churches and monasteries in the area. Later on, and this is something beautiful about Istvan, he will make a kind of a comparison between Ehden of Lebanon and Eden of the Old Testament. For him, Ehden was the Eden of the Old Testament, something very, very beautiful. And actually in the name also, it sounds very close. So after the death of his father, he was kind of with his mother, and then at one point his mother sent him to study in the school of the village. He was very smart. He learned the basics of reading and writing Syriac, Arabic, in addition to the different Maronite rituals. Next slide, sister. I mean, his knowledge and of Syriac and Arabic at an early age helped him greatly in his mission, especially later on when he will be sent, or he will go to Aleppo for between 1653 and 1658. It helped him greatly in working on the Maronite liturgy, the various manuscripts, and definitely the Syriac hymns, the poetry, and for sure the music. Because of his intelligence, when he was 11 years old, young Stephen, 11 years old, he was chosen by his bishop, Elias Ehdeni, and Patriarch Jirius Amira to go to the Maronite College in Rome, founded by Pope Gregory VIII in 1584. He arrived in Rome in 1641 with three others that he had known from his area. In Rome, so to talk about a little bit, the candidates who went to Rome were candidates that actually were chosen by the patriarchs themselves, because there is a great kind of hardships in traveling, in being in Rome and being away from the family, especially at a younger age. So they were chosen very carefully, very carefully. These candidates who will go to Rome had a vocation to the priesthood, go into Rome to study. So the patriarchs really will hand pick these candidates. Many of them actually became bishops and became patriarchs later on from the Maronite College. And they continue that same tradition. They will be very careful in choosing who will go to the Maronite College in Rome. Next slide, sister. So at the Maronite College, he was very, very smart. Again, he had to study math, all the sciences that is needed, and then he would study philosophy and theology. The Jesuits were in charge of formation following the Council of Trent, 1563. And also Patriarch Dwayhill kind of will follow a lot of the teachings of the Council of Trent, especially when it comes to bishops visiting their diocese, being present with among their people, fulfilling what the canon law say, fathers and head, that are not only head exercising power remotely, but they are fathers with their people. Something very important that that canon 55 kind of summarize the identity and the roles of these patriarchs. Stephen Dwayhill had access to libraries in Rome, where he would research anything and everything about the Maronites. He will copy. Remember, there were no photocopies. There were not machines. He had to write all these the manuscripts that he would see on the Maronites, on the history, on the tradition, on the liturgy, and he would write them. These graduates from the Maronite College really became the bridge between the East and the West tradition. Many of them were actually hired by kings and rulers in Rome to help them translate Arabic into their own languages, Syriac into their own languages, from Latin to Syriac, from Arabic to Latin. Or from Latin, they also helped translating things from Latin into Syriac and from Latin to Arabic. And at one point, as I said, they were hired by kings and rulers in Rome in their palaces to teach and educate others. So people used to say at one point, smart like a Maronite, alim ka Maruni, savant like a Maronite. So the students of the Maronite College worked on the liturgical books. They went through them, sorted through them to eliminate what was not Catholic. Next slide, sister. So many would say that when they did this as students in Rome, going through these liturgical books, they might not have done a good work, and they could have actually deleted or eliminated or took out elements that were really part of our Maronite history and Maronite tradition. and this could have hurt a little bit our liturgy, and probably swayed us a little bit from the tradition, because being in Rome, being affected by the Latin tradition, they could have, or elements from our liturgical books could have not been preserved to the way that we would like for them to have been preserved. So many times it was discovered that prayers or theology was very Catholic, but definitely was, as we always say, was expressed differently. The temptation of these students and especially for Stephen Dwaihi, that went to Rome, was to stay in Rome, not to come back to Lebanon, to stay in Europe. But Patriarch Dwaihi would say, my country is in need of me than the West. And later, as a patriarch, when he will send the students to study in Rome, he will really tell them, you have to come back. You want to come back to teach in your villages and in your towns. So while in Rome, and this is something very important, Stephen suffered from an eye illness that affected him from continuing his studies. And at one point, they were planning to send him back to Lebanon. So according to al-Sam'ani, or Sam'an al-Khasruni, who was a patriarch between 1742 and 1756, the Virgin Mary healed the eyes of Stephen Dwaihi and saved him from his anxiety. And he was actually very happy. And he devoted more and more time to study, to pray, to do all these ascetic work and fasting that he did. He was a man of prayer. It was recorded he was a man of prayer. He was a man who had a lot of morals, somebody who was solid, an excellent student, and he superseded all his classmates. Next slide, sister. Many of his teachers and those who have known Stephen Dwaihi would say that it was hard to find someone in his mind and in his knowledge in Italy and in the Maronite College. And the Maronite College actually was known because of Stephen Dwaihi. He wrote anything he could find, as I said, in the libraries in Rome about the Maronites to prove that they were not heretics and they have not fallen into heresy. And from that time, when he was a student, he planned to write the history of the Maronite Church from that young age. He was very humble, as I said, never proud of his intellect and his intelligence. He always followed the rules and the regulations at the college. He was a person of prayer and fasting. Next slide. After he finished his studies in Rome, Stephen Dwaihi was ordained a priest by Patriarch Yohanna al-Sfairi on March 25th, 1656. 12 years later, on July 8th, 1668, he became the Bishop of Cyprus, and he visited Cyprus as a priest. When he came back, he was in a little bit in Ehden. He served Ehden, but he could not do the mission because, again, of the Ottoman rules and the persecution that that region had. He would come to Kasserwan, where his brother lived, in the middle of Lebanon, in the middle of the country, a heavily Christian area, and he will do the missions there, and he will preach there. So after he was ordained, 12 years later, he became the Bishop of Cyprus. And then 2 years later, only 2 years, he was elected the Patriarch on May 5th, 1670, and remained until his death in 1704. He was a Patriarch for 34 years. You can see in the pictures the monastery of Kanubin. This is kind of the Patriarchate. This is the pavilion of Bishop Stephen Dwaihi and his room. Next slide, sister. So when he was in Rome, after he came back to Lebanon, he was given a mandate by a congregation. It's the congregation now of the evangelization of peoples, what we used to call the Propaganda Fide, as an apostle. And this was very important for him because they will send him a stipend. He was kind of their apostle, their missionary to do the teachings. So this helped him focus solely instead of trying to find means to live and try to have a little salary. What was coming from the congregation helped him to devote himself to writings, to devote himself to only teaching. Now, after the death, as I said, of Fakhruddin in 1633, the region was under the governance the region that was under his governance was unstable and defragmented. People did not have the freedom as before, and princes appointed by the Ottomans fought against each other. So this continued until the Shahab dynasty took over in 1697, a couple of years before Stephen died, when the region started to enjoy a little bit more of stability. Most of Patriarch Dway's ministries then was under the oppression of the Ottoman Empire, influenced by wars and unrest. After his ordination to the priesthood, as I said, he was appointed to Jdid Jaita in Kisrwan, where he experienced more peace, and also to a town close to Ehden called Ardi in Zgharta, where also he kind of was there as the pastor for a little bit. He was also appointed, next slide, sister, he was also appointed a patriarchal vicar for the Shuf area, for Sidon, for the Bekaa, and he would go and visit and Marjayun and visit these different towns that the patriarch will ask him to go. And it was the duty for him to proclaim the gospel for sure, and to declare the patriarchal decrees. Later on, he was on mission to the Maronites in Aleppo twice, and this is very important. He went to Aleppo, and in Aleppo, Aleppo was a major city. You have a lot of people from Europe who were there. He interacted, he built connections with those people. But mainly when he was in Aleppo for the second time, he was sent to help Bishop Ajijan, who was elected later on the patriarch of the Syria Catholic, to work with him to bring back those who have fallen into heresy, mostly Jacobites or people who were believing in the one nature of Christ. Still, until 1600s, late 1600s, people were still falling into that heresy of the Monophysite. There he opened school, and he really taught the people. It was a mission for him to teach children and kids wherever he went. And in Aleppo, we're gonna know in one of these schools, he taught three of men who were become later on the founder of the different religious order in Lebanon. So he was actually part of. They were part of what he had taught, and he had formed them a little bit in developing these orders. Next slide, sister. So upon his election as patriarch in 1670, he was faced with few issues. He did not receive the approval right away from Rome at first, because definitely, like in every election, some bishops did not like him to become a patriarch. And also, the Lord Sheikh Nawfal Khazin was not present at the election. And remember, at that time, lay people were part of electing the patriarch. This custom had stopped a long time ago, but he was not present. But Patriarch Dwayhi will visit him, will go to him, and he did not receive actually the pallium of confirmation. This is the kind of what we call the hierarchical communion with the Holy See. He did not receive he received it 2 years after he was elected a patriarch. As a patriarch, he was bringing the peace between the different fractions in the area, especially among the Maronites. Yes, the Maronites were fighting from the beginning of history, so it's not anything new that we have. He traveled between Kanubin and the Kesserwan area and the Shuf, depending how intense the persecution was, whether from the Ottomans or the Muslims in Lebanon. At the same time, he used to welcome and help everybody. He was a person who would help, who would welcome people into the patriarchates and wherever he was. As I said, he was a man of prayer. He was an ascetic person, devoted to the Virgin Mary. remember the healing that he received through the intercession of Our Lady. He died on May 3rd, 1704 in Kanubin after spending time in Kisrwain, in their Mashalita bi Makbis in Kisrwain. And on July 3rd, 2008, he was declared venerable, and August 2nd, 2024, a blessed. So his writings, this is where what he did as a patriarch, and with all the the travels that he did, he had a lot of historical writings. The Origin of the Maronites, it's a historical book, and you could read a little bit. And he had kind of used primary sources. This is the first kind of historical book that we had some primary sources on it, not only about the Christians, but also use Islamic little manuscripts. He wrote something against the accusation and doubts against the Maronites, for sure, arguing that we are not believers of the one nature, defending the Maronites, arguing against Eliano and Bruno. These were the envoys of the popes who came to Lebanon, after the Council of before the Council of Trent, after the Reformation, to just go over the books in Lebanon, and they burn some of our books. And we don't like much Eliano, Bruno, or Dandini. These are not priests that we like much, because we feel that they burn some excellent books that we have, and they kind of hurt our tradition. He had a book on the list of the Maronite patriarchs, the history of the Maronite College in Rome, a summary on the sacred history. And the important book is Tarikh al-Azmina. It's a narrative of events from 622. This is the beginning of the Islamic conquest until his death, divided into Christian history and Muslim history. Next slide, sister. And we're a little bit concluding with... So also he had some liturgical writings. Manar al-Aqdas is the most famous, referencing Saint Athanasius and all the Syriac fathers. He has a pontifical, which is the book that the bishops will use for his rituals, mostly for the ordination of all the different ordinations. We call it Kitab al-Shartuniye. And he has another book on the explanation of the Syriac pontificals, the Syriac Anaphore, the holy days, rites, and blessings. He has an explanation of the Syriac hymns, especially the Rish Kole. That this is very important for us. In the book, this is something that is kind of, you would like a little bit. In the book of Korbono book, you see up there, when you see a hymn, you see in Syriac written in English letter, Mshiho Natar El Aito, or you see Fshito. This is the Rish Kole or Rish Kolo. In singular. So for example, when I see Mshiho Natar El Aito, I know exactly that this hymn would start Mshiho Natar El Aito. So I don't have to, we don't have to think too much. Or Enono Nohro Shariro. Enono Nohro Shariro. Or Ahdaw Zadiqi. Hallelujah. Ahdaw Zadiqi. All that. He had an explanation on these hymns. The rite of the wearing of the monastic scheme, the hood there is a rite on that the hood that the monks will put, a book on prayers, a book on the sacraments, a book on the Janazat. So he wrote history and liturgy for sure. Next slide, sister. Now we move to Patriarch Venerable Ilyas Lahwayik. Again, another another for 300 years from 17 or 200 years from 1704 to 1843, and he was born 1843 and died in 1931. An interesting figure in the life of the Maronite Church. He was born in Helta in the mountains of Batroun. Young Elias Lahwayik went to the school of Saint Maren Farhai This is the first patriarchate. It was a school there. There was a school, so he went to it, and then he went to the seminary in Ghazir. The seminary in Ghazir is still in existence. Many of us went to that seminary in Kasserwan. Then after that, he was sent by the patriarch to the Maronite College in Rome, and he earned a doctorate in theology from the university there of the Propaganda Fide. He was ordained a priest in 1870 and returned to Lebanon, where he taught theology before being assigned the patriarchal secretary for 17 years in Kirke, and later was ordained a bishop and was appointed a patriarchal vicar for 8 years. So he was a patriarchal vicar. He did not have an eparchy or a diocese. Upon the death of the patriarch El-Hajj in 1898, after 8 years of being a patriarch, at age 82, Bishop Elias Ahwayek was ordained a patriarchal vicar, elected as a patriarch on January 6, 1899. He received the apostolic pallium in June of the same year. Everybody liked Ahwayek. There was no issue of the election. You could see that. He went through like that. He had a lot of connection. And at the time of Patriarch El-Hajj, because of he was the patriarchal vicar, he was sent a lot to Europe and as an envoy from the patriarch to work. Like he worked on establishing again and rebuilding the Maronite College. He built school. He did a lot of work on behalf of the patriarch. So he had a lot of connections, and he received the Legion of Honor. It's the highest French order of merits, both in military and civil, from France. Next slide. Patriarch El-Hajj built the winter residency of the patriarchate in Kirke, and Bishop Al-Ahwayek built the summer residency in Diman. You can see the Diman on the left with the Qadisha Valley with the Anubin, and then on the right you can see the patriarchal residence in Kirke. Both beautiful. Definitely these are the current buildings. They were smaller and different patriarchs added, but it was the idea of Bishop Patriarch Dwayhi to build a summer residency overseeing Wadi Kanubin. Next slide, sister. His interest was really on educating his people to know more about the faith so they can defend themselves against the modern world. The heresies are no longer part of defending. The Maronites now were moving to be protected from the modern world and from modernism a little bit, insisting on the devotion to the Sacred Heart and to the Mother of God. He founded a new center. It was him who actually founded and put together Harissa in 1908 in honor of the Virgin Mary, and also for the 50th anniversary of the definition or of the declaration of the dogma of the Immaculate Conception in 1858. Also in 1921, the Patriarch consecrated Lebanon to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. He also founded a Maronite Congregation of the Holy Family. It's a religious order for women who worked on bettering and to have better education. And he worked on having better education for clergy and on the restoration of the Maronite College in Rome. He established a new patriarchal vicariate in Egypt, divided the eparchy of Tyre and Sidon into two. So he had some administrative work. So he was both a spiritual leader and a good administrator. And now we are going to see that he was also a good, very good civil leader in Lebanon. So during the first war, 1914, 1918, numerous families were helped by Patriarch Ahwayek. He loved the poor and helped them immensely. There is a book actually in Arabic. When I show this book, in all this book, there are lists and lists of the patriarchate helping people who would come to them, and they would record the name and what was given to that family or to that person. Immense work that the patriarchate and especially Patriarch El-Ahwayek did during the first war. Next slide. In 1916, was definitely marked, as I said, by famine, epidemic, starvation, and actually 100,000 of people, 150,000 people, Lebanese, lost their lives. The population of Lebanon, Christian and non-Christian, turned to him to defend their causes. And you're going to know he did not hesitate to answer their appeal by going at 76. He was 76 years old. He went to Paris to the peace conference in 1919. So you could see, and a little bit we'll talk, there are a few more slides. As I said earlier, for that conference, he declared definitely Greater Lebanon was declared under the French mandate. So the Ottoman occupied that land. So Patriarch Al-Hawayik lived part of his life under what we call the Qa'im Maqamiyatan, which was two territories, and you could see the pictures here. These are the two territories. One was heavily Maronites, the other one was heavily Druze. The heavily Maronites with the capital Big Faya, the heavily Druze, the capital Deir al-Amr. This is just to, it was a tactic from, I think, from the Turks to just divide people, just separate them according to religion. Again, another experience that the Turks were doing to bring more kind of oppression and to be able to control more and to bring people at the same time against each other. This led to the massacres of 1860. Next slide, sister. So it led to the massacre of 1860 between the Maronites and the Druze. So he lived that first part, and he was going within that area between Kirkuk pretty much and Iman. Later on, another system kind of, the Turks were very smart in bringing these different systems. Al-Mutasarrifiyya, which was a system that you will have a Christian ruler, but the Turks will appoint him. This is something that after the massacre, a council met together, France, Britain, Austria, Persia, and Russia, to help mostly, governing Lebanon and that area that kind of enjoyed a little bit of autonomy and freedom throughout the history. So they had, different mutasarrif, a ruler who was Christian but appointed by the Turks. I'm saying all of that because the patriarch is gonna be strong about having that Lebanon independent, especially after the first war had ended. Because the territory, as you see from that slide before and this slide, you could see the shape of Lebanon that is independent from all the nations, from Syria, from Palestine, and from the countries around us. It has its own kind of borders trying to be formed, and it has its own autonomy, and that Mount Lebanon enjoyed that freedom throughout. And this is going to help him make his case at the conference in Versailles when he went in 1919. Next slide, sister. So the Mutasarrifiyya system ended by the Allies winning the first war, and definitely they decided to divide the Ottoman Empire, and they divided it according to the Treaty of Sykes-Picot, a French general and a British general, and divided that land. I don't have a map of that. And Lebanon fell into the French kind of mandate. So Patriarch Hawayik, the Christians, the Druze, the Muslims, and the Maronites and the Christians of Lebanon asked him to go and represent them at that peace conference in France. So he went with all that history that he knew and with all these systems that he lived. He was able to argue that we need an independent Lebanon. Yes, mandated by France, that's fine, but these are the kind of the territories historically that we think these were the territories of Lebanon. So based on the Qa'im Maqamiyatan, based on the Mutasarrifiyya, and they added a little bit more of land, Tripoli, a little bit from the north, a little bit the Bekaa and Tyre and Sidon, then Lebanon, the Greater Lebanon, on September 1st, 1920, was being proclaimed in Beirut by a French general, General Gouraud. The patriarch died on December 24th, 1931, was declared venerable, recognizing his heroic virtues on July 5th, 2019. In conclusion, reading about these patriarchs, which really brought, I was reminded of things. My history was kind of all over the place when I was before that. Now it's kind of straightened up a little bit. We have two tendencies for us outside the Maronites, outside Lebanon. We have a tendency to imitate other people. So we want to sometimes imitate the Latin church. Okay, be conformed to the Latin church, and that's I think there is this is kind of the tendency, and also we have the tendency to imitate the church in Lebanon. We exist between these two temptations or these two tendencies, and I think we stand unique. We should not be like the different patriarchs who decided and who took great initiatives. We should. And we are forging our own ways, unique, without definitely forgetting the tradition and without being part of the context that we are living in. So we have to juggle these two, but without trying to imitate anyone, not the church in the West and not the church in Lebanon. And thank you.
Oh, thank you, Abuna Dominique. So much information there, but excellent. I learned so much, and I'm sure our people that are on this evening learned quite a bit. And what I liked about it was it put everything in like a sequence and order. Because I've read snippets here and there, and it's nice to see it unfold and its history. I'm sure our people have questions, and so what I'm just going to ask them to, if they do, to unmute and ask your question, and to give people, or if they want to write it in the chat, but to give people a chance to consider their questions. I'll start with one for you. How many patriarchs since John Maron, St. John Maron, Abuna? Oh, am I putting you on the spot?
Yeah, you are putting me on the spot. I mean, you could Google that, sister. 70, I think in the 70s, 70 something, 73, 74.
Okay. All right. Just wondered how many we had.
Yeah, somebody could Google it. I think in the 70s.
Abuna, I have a question. Sister, can I go? This is Fania.
Yes.
I'm going to put you on the spot too. Maybe not sure if you don't know the answer. What's the relationship between the patriarchs and the Khazan family? Why are they always around? They always have when there was a new patriarch, they had to they had the key to the patriarch. I don't know. There is something between the. What is it?
And actually, today too, if there is an election of a patriarch, Beit al-Khazan, the Khazan family, will stand at the doors of Kirki.
Yes, and that's what I saw during this election, the last election for Patriarch Ra, and why?
Correct. I think because they protected the patriarchs throughout history, and I think the land Kirki, the land was donated by Beit al-Khazan. I think, I'm not sure, but but they were people who protected the patriarchates and the patriarchs throughout history. So they were given that privilege of having a vote when they will meet to elect a patriarch.
That's interesting. Thank you.
We do have a question in the chat, Abuna, and I'll ask that now while people are getting their thoughts together. The books that you listed of Patriarch Dwayhi, Blessed Dwayhi, are they any of them translated in English?
A little bit here and there, probably. You could see Manarat al-Aqdas probably a little bit, or Tarikh al-Azmina, but very little, very, very little. And remember, Dwayhi wrote in Syriac. His Arabic was not the greatest. I mean, he would write some of his Arabic writings are like the the Lebanese, like we speak in Lebanese. Some of his writings are like that in few instances here and there. So his Arabic was not the greatest, but he wanted the people to understand. So he actually, I would not say he pushed the Arabic, but he would say, yeah, I mean, we should probably start praying in Arabic, keeping the tradition, yet sometimes also for people to understand.
Another question in the chat. Zach asks, with his being elevated, do you know of initiatives to translate more of his works?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know any in English right now, but in Arabic they've done some work. I mean, the book that I was for, like, for example, for Dwayhe was from 2021, 22. So they've more people are doing some research. I haven't seen any in English yet. Well, we could start translating, or we could start writing our own. We don't have to translate. As I said, we don't have to. We could do our own research. We have our libraries, and we could start writing.
Other questions from our friends here tonight? I was wondering, Abuna, while people are thinking, the rituals and the different what do they call those, anaphoras and so forth that he had books on, are they is that the source? Is that the primary source for the modern use of these documents?
Some of them, yeah. I mean, some of the manuscripts will be the primary source, and he had a source, but I don't know if we could find these sources in most likely in Rome or in Kirke. But some of these sources now we rely on him for many of these sources. Like for John Marin, I mean, he's the one who wrote on John Marin. Again, sometimes very poetic. You have to read it with a little an eye of critical eye. But yeah, we rely on Dwayhe for a lot. As Patriarch Rai said, it's very hard. Probably we will not have anybody like Dwayhe, not before, not after.
We have another question in the chat. The Maronite Church, this is from Anthony. The Maronite Church is the same all over the world: Lebanon, Brazil, Australia, US, Europe, and Africa. What do you mean, Abuna, by the church in the US should be unique and should not imitate the church in Lebanon?
So not in I meant in the US, not in the US only, in the West. I mean, where you are, the context is very important. You are affected by your context, but sometimes we do this in Lebanon. Let's go and do this like they do it in Lebanon. Sometimes it doesn't work for us. Not only in liturgy, in administration, sometimes we also try to imitate other churches. It doesn't work for us. We stand kind of a little bit, as I said, unique in that. I mean, I could give you an example. Let me give you an example. If you call the Archdiocese of New York, Brooklyn, I'm not going to talk the Archdiocese of New York. You want to speak to the bishop, right? Most likely you cannot speak to the bishop of Brooklyn right away, even if you are a priest sometimes. Well, try to call our eparchy. If the secretary is on vacation today, guess who would answer you? Bishop Gregory. That's unique. That's fantastic for me. And this is what I mean by that uniqueness. We don't want to have the hierarchy and the administration like the West have, because it would lose, remember, as we're talking about the patriarch, the idea of a father and a head. Remember that idea of a father and a head as a patriarch.
Well, we do have time for some more questions if anybody would like to ask.
I had a question. Just in terms of, I think we've kind of asked this previously, but I'd like to ask it a little bit more directly, is that do we have an understanding or just a written form of our history as Maronites if not in English, in Arabic or French or another form, that's not broken into pieces? Because I think it is very important for us to understand our place in a cultural context and in our history to develop deeper connection with the faith as well. So I was just wondering if you had any comments about that. Thank you.
I mean, I would still recommend the Pierre Deeb book, the Most Reverend Pierre Deeb, the Bishop of Cairo. This is what I was that's the history that we studied at the seminary in Washington. And I think this still, it has 2 volumes. And I feel that that's a good book to start. I mean, you're going to find different writings, but is there like kind of one book? I think this will be still, it's translated from French into English. Bishop Zayek translated it a long time ago. So it is in English, and I think it's a good book.
Could you say the name again, just so I can?
It's The History of the Maronite Church by the Most Reverend Pierre Aid, Bishop of Cairo. Here you go.
Thank you. Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you.
We do have, I think somebody Googled, Abuna, your challenge about patriarchs. They said, Paul says the Maronite Church has had a total of 77 patriarchs.
Oh, not bad. I wasn't far off.
Bravo.
Abuna, you did a great job.
Thank you.
And I enjoyed how you kind of spaced out the time periods, and also it was wonderful to have some of the cultural aspect, especially with Hawaiic. I mean, I've obviously I've read the histories and stuff, but even like in Deeb's book, that Bajani translated, it doesn't always go into those parts. I think that's what the young man was just probably kind of asking about too, that you kind of get these like time periods in some of these books, especially ones that are trying to cover the entire Maronite Church, like from Saint Maron to the current time. And obviously part of that's because, like you said, like with John Maron, what do we have? We have essentially Dewey's account, which, of course, there's been the questions, as you said before, like, did St. John Maron exist? There's the famous articles by Chapeau in the 50s. But of course, there were also the responses to his articles about that. But they don't always give you really that cultural part. And part of it's probably because we only know so much about these people and the time periods. But like at least with the more modern, it was very interesting. Like I didn't really realize the role that Hawaiic had for forming the current boundaries of Lebanon after World War One. So I really think that is important to know the cultural thing, because sometimes we focus so much on the spiritual side, which we should, but our patriarchs throughout history have had also important roles in the life of our people, as you said, as a father, in all aspects of their life. And obviously even other people look to them as a father, whether they were Maronites or not. And so I think if nothing else this evening, I hope everybody appreciates that aspect of your talk, that shows that what the patriarch truly is. Yes, he is the head of our church, but he's also our father, which is something I think that our current patriarch has really taken on. Not to slander our previous patriarch, but he was very, very political to the point he wouldn't visit places like Syria or the Maronites in Palestine or other places because of political reasons. And our current patriarch has done that because he realizes he is the father of the Maronites, no matter from which country you belong. And I think that's very important. I appreciate your comments tonight, and also about us, that we have to realize as a church as a whole, we are in different cultures, We're not a Lebanese church. We are a Maronite church that is in different places and has to adapt and adopt the cultures that we're in, just like the Maronites adapted to their culture wherever they were. So thank you for a wonderful talk this evening.
Thank you, Abuna.
Thank you, Abuna Claude. I think what we'll do is we'll wrap up, but we'll just take one more question, and then I'll make a couple of announcements, and we'll have our closing prayer.
Abuna,
Yes,
this is Tanya again. Sorry. What is Heilat Mar Yohanna Maroon? What is that when they talk about that?
that's the skull. That's the skull, a part of his head that is actually in Kfar Hay. It
So
was
that means that he existed, because I got confused when you said he did not exist. You
well,
threw me that.
good point. I mean, it was in Rome at one point, and
Yeah.
they back to Lebanon. Yeah, I mean, probably carbon dating should be done on that just to verify.
That's the
Okay.
skull though of Saint Maron, not John Maron.
Oh, you're right. Of Saint Maron. Yes, yes, correct,
Oh,
correct.
is it? Okay, so then I'm confused.
Mhm.
Okay, thank
And
you.
Mar Maroon, yes, not Johanna
Okay,
Maroon.
Mar Maroon, not Mar Yohanna Maroon. Good to know.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Thanks.
Well, I think what we'll do then is we'll wrap up our evening, and I think at least for me, it makes you want to learn more.
Oh, yes.
So we focused on the history, and we'll continue this series, which, by the way, this is our 9th series, not 9 years, but 9th. We do fall and spring. But the Maronite Servants of Christ the Light, who we are, have put on for our people to learn more about their Maronite faith. So we're so grateful to God for that, and excellent, excellent presenters. It was Bishop Gregory who suggested we tap into the wealth of our priests, and that has proven quite fruitful and just a blessing. So we're grateful. But anyway, we are so grateful for all of you to come on and tell others about this. We want our Maronites to learn more about their not only their history, but the beauty and wealth of the church that God has given us, and to preserve that and to celebrate that.
Absolutely. And in the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Lord God, we thank you for all the blessings, for all the graces that you bring into our lives. We are reminded today of the different patriarchs that served our church, that were fathers and head, but mostly fathers for us, people who protected, and a father is a protector, a provider, someone who was close to us through the intercession of Saint John Mayer, of Venerable of Blessed Istvan of Venerable Lahway. We want to pray for Lebanon today, for peace in the Middle East. And we know that that peace starts within us, and it would radiate to the people around us. So instill in the hearts of all those who are making these decisions, or who are trying to get to some sort of a ceasefire, your peace, Lord, so they will spread it around them. Through the most holy Trinity we pray, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, forever and ever. Amen.